Yeah.
Okay.
We'll let our guest lead it, Caitlin.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, we do have a guest here. We have Caitlin. Jim had talked to her the other day about coming and enlightening us on what's going on at the county level in terms of waste management. So,
Yes.
floor is yours.
So Jim and I met yesterday. We are looking to add some mattress collection events to our calendar for next year. And we want to do kind of a test one this fall to see what the interest is, what the demand is. So we were hoping that the town might be interested in hosting an event. So basically the recycler that we're working with would drop off a truck prior to the event. The town would have to provide a couple of staff people to help load the mattresses into the truck. And that's kind of basically how it would run. It would be September 24th. We haven't narrowed down a definite time. It can be kind of flexible. That is a day that the transfer station is open to town and city residents. It's the fourth Saturday. And then there would be pre-registration, which we would handle on our end. It would be an online form. So we would know exactly how many mattresses were coming, and we would designate a certain number of people per time slot. So not everybody's showing up at one time. It would be kind of evenly spaced throughout the event.
Is this one that would be open to all county residents?
It is.
Just like the other ones?
Yeah, and there would be 2 locations that day. I believe the town of Geneva is gonna host one, and then we were looking to have one kind of more in this area. So since Canandaigua was so centrally located, that was kind of an ideal location.
What do you think?
I'm fine with it. I just want the committee to hear and see what they thought of it, if they're okay with this.
Many people throw away mattresses now.
Yeah, actually, I was telling Caitlin, it goes in spurts.
Yeah.
Like you might go a few weeks, not see when you go a week, it'll be 6 or 8 of them.
Whatever mattresses.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, but
Most of the online places now, it's like if they deliver a mattress, they take a mattress.
Yeah, so we really don't know what the demand
Oh,
is going
right.
to be, because this is the first one we posted, and mattresses aren't like TVs where you shove them in the basement until collection event. So it could be super busy. We could have the truck totally full, and it's a possibility that the truck's only gonna be half full. So that's kind of why we wanted to do some this fall, to see what the interest is, so that when we're planning for next year, we can kind of appropriately plan.
so what do you guys think?
Oh, I mean, your area. so
I don't know, but I just wanted to talk it out here
What was
first.
they
I think
doing
it's
on
a
the
great
board?
idea. People do come and get the tickets for them, and they're not really expensive to dispose of, but we do get them, so yeah, I think it's a great idea.
And this would be recycling too. Right now, when they go in the C&D bin, they're going to the landfill. So this would go to a recycler where they take them apart and they recycle the metal springs and they recycle the foam and they recycle the wood. So they're able to recycle most pieces of the mattress.
So what time it's gonna be like a full day thing like the others, or?
It'd be like a 3 or 4 hour window, and we can kind of decide what time is gonna work best with both the city and the town being open that time.
I thought we could just put the trailer somewhere near the salt barn, so it's out of the way, pull up next to it and just drop it off, just to keep, going through that way. For as far as traffic goes, so.
Yep, and we'll bring some signage and stuff to help
You can just keep
designate.
my office in the loop, because we always get the phone calls and people coming in. That way we can start telling people, like, so you can hold on to it for another month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So the date is definitely gonna be September 24th, and then as long as you guys are in, we'll work on firming up those last couple of details.
That works.
Caitlin, you have already said it, but is there any charge for dropping off a mattress?
Nope, it'll be a free event for any Ontario County residents.
Good, good. Who is the vendor? You said you have a vendor who will take the material and recycle it. Is it a local vendor or is it somebody from a distance?
The closest mattress recycler is Triad, and they're in Tonawanda, I believe, right outside of Buffalo.
No, I'm good with it if Jim's okay with it as far as manpower.
It's fine. It'll be, we'll see how it goes, actually. They actually said mattresses actually cheap. So,
Yeah, it will be
Yeah.
interesting to see the report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Caitlin and I spoke yesterday about transfer station and landfill a little bit. And just have a ton of new information, but she could share with us some of the stuff that's going on at the county right now.
So Carla did give an interesting presentation to the Planning and Environmental Quality Committee at their June meeting. Did you get the link I sent? you?
I did, but I haven't looked at it yet.
So I can kind of give you a brief overview. I would encourage you to check it out. There's tons of really great information about some of the legislative stuff that's going on at the state level that could affect decisions at the landfill. But basically she wanted to start the conversation with the Planning and Environmental Quality Committee, and then as well as the full Board of Supervisors about what next steps are as far as that fight goes. So there's basically 3 options that the supervisors need to choose between, because it is a legislative decision. So the first would be that the landfill closes when the lease expires in 2028. And, you know, post-closure starts, they cap the landfill, and then Casella continues monitoring for as long as the DEC deems is necessary. The other 2 options are that the landfill continues operations and then put out a request for proposal. And that would basically allow them to change the scope of operations at the landfill. Should they decide to go that route, they can have limits on where the materials come from, what's accepted, 9 more aggressive non-compliance penalties. And then the other piece to that puzzle is the landfill is located in the town of Seneca. So the town has had a number of public hearings with their residents. And they did a survey as well to see if there is support in the town of Seneca. So the county, if they choose to move forward with operations at the landfill, they could do it with the town of Seneca support, or they could do it without the town of Seneca support. And that would obviously get a lot messier. There would be potential legal challenges. That's, I don't think, a super likely scenario. But right now, the town of Seneca is still tabulating the results of their surveys. So they're kind of waiting to make some decisions on that end. So basically, Director Jordan left it with the committee that, you know, our department is more than willing to provide them with more information and more summaries. They just kind of need to kind of talk about it and decide a direction that they're.
Do they have any timetable that they're looking at to make that decision?
Not to my knowledge.
As far as I understand, it's by the end of the year.
But in
That's when I attended the public meeting and listened to what the Seneca Town Board had to say, they indicated that they'd be making a decision before the end of the year.
year 2020.
Correct. Yeah, before December 31st of this year. Yeah. The one piece of that is that the town of Seneca owns the land just south of the landfill that would could be used to expand the current landfill. So they would have the choice whether or not to sell that to the county.
Well, I'd read that they had public meeting here a few weeks ago, a month or so.
Yep.
What was the sentiment in the room?
It was interesting, there were three hearings, one at each of the fire departments. And as you moved from the south to the north, the support for the landfill dropped.
Did you get closer to it?
Correct. So in Hall, there was kind of a general consensus that it's a benefit to the town. Stanley was rather mixed. It's right, Stanley covers fire protection for the landfill, and there's a benefit there, so it was mixed. And in Seneca Castle, the general consensus was they do not support it and want it closed. That was residents only, and the town board needs to make the decision, so there hasn't quite been any indication as far as which direction the board's going to go at this point in time.
Has there been any more talk about the county doing like stations across the county?
I don't know that answer. I'm not sure if that's still an
Is
option
that
or
still
not.
even on the table?
There was a lot of pushback against the hub and spoke model when that study came out. I'm sure that it could be revisited in the future depending on what happens with landfill operations. But at this time, they're mostly focusing on what happens post 2020.
But I think either way, that if town center doesn't, I'll say, move forward, then that landfill will close in about 6 years. 5 years. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Is anybody looking at, you're looking at if it does close, what do we do? Or is that just,
There's been some discussion, and Director Jordan talks about that a little bit in that presentation to the Planning and Environmental Quality Committee, that, you know, if that is the decision we go, I think to start making some plans for organics management or, you know, what happens with handling recycling, and do we need a facility like Monroe County Eco Park and things like that. But again, we sort of need to know what direction we're going in.
oh, yeah, it'd be very helpful.
So it's not a lot of news, but
Well,
is there?
it's by the end of the year, Seneca will make their decision, and that should inform the board of supervisors. I mean, if it turns out that they're in favor of letting it continue or expansion, it makes it easier for the board, or the other way also, gee, they don't want it. It's been years in the making here, but that's maybe it'll be a decision by the end of this year. Okay,
2020 is coming quickly.
yeah, well. So, days are just flying off the calendar. You know? The other highlights from the sustainability area?
Not too much. We've got all our collection events going on. I'm working on a reuse project, kind of inventory what is existing countywide for things like donating furniture and clothing, and seeing if we can identify any gaps and that we need to kind of support that industry. So I think that's going to be kind of a focus of ours for the rest of the year, and especially in 2023.
Are any of the collection centers doing anything unique that you haven't heard about, or
As far as like
well,
reuse.
yeah,
and donation.
recycling, or what happened? Yeah, I read something the other day that the city was talking about pay as you throw effort. You know, going to be issuing new toters for recycling and for municipal solid waste, and, but they can't broach that topic of pay as you throw. So is that something that you've been involved with the city, or any discussion?
That's mostly been a city-led project, yeah.
City likes to keep things to themselves. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Sounds just that.
Good. Well, the transfer station, we do have that on the agenda here. you might be interested, maybe we could go down to that first and.
Sure.
Terry, just so you don't have to stay to get back home and say, meeting till that.
Terry, two
Well,
things,
Regina is on there.
two things real quick. Speaking of transfer station, we were half joking, but Jim and I were having a conversation with somebody who mentioned the possible interest if we were to put out an RFP for operation of our transfer facility and let another entity run it and operate it so that we don't have to do it. So something to think about on the road. The other thing is technically, you only have a quorum here because Caitlin's here. Resolution 2022-13 appointed Terry Finelli, Al Kraus, Chuck Euler, Jim Fletcher, and Caitlin to this committee. Caitlin
Still
is
a
the
member.
only reason you have a quorum currently because Chuck doesn't count. So that means technically, you really officially have two vacancies you should think about filling.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Did you?
I did not know.
You didn't say anything about who was your employer. You just said your
Get out.
name. You can
You
stay.
gotta change that.
Terry, you said get out.
Yeah. Get rid of these things.
All right.
I
I mean, they're like really, really,
Those are
really
high
hard
class.
stuff.
You stuck in a.
The best thing to do.
Well, let's jump into the transfer station. I know this,
Well, I brought down some PDFs of multiple different layouts. I think Tommy emailed you these. Didn't he? I think. Like, okay. All right, so there's a bunch of different looks at it. Apologize for having everyone, sorry Chuck, kind of looking at this 11 by 17. We kind of try to, in all the instances, try to keep the queue length as long as possible. I told them we need to make sure we're queuing. I want to say a minimum of 60 cars is what we looked at for our queue length. So the recycling and trash, this building I feel is very well defined. We understand, I think, how we're throwing trash, how we're removing the items, where the town needs access, etc. I think that's fairly well understood. Building 2, I think we need to sit down and do a little programming with Jim and the transfer station people to better understand how we want this laid out and where our accessibility is going to be, because the way that, Al wanted this thing pushed up on the north end, but the north end, it's bound by a water main that runs near the property line. Plus, we're right on the property line to make this work. The issue is, I don't know if we have the right accessibility to this building, like where are the rollies coming out, where's the town access points, what part's elevated, what's part lowered. That we got to spend a little bit of time to understand this building. So what I'd like to do is try to set up a time for Jim, Maggie, probably Tommy, and everyone in the transfer, maybe not everyone, but key people from the transfer, just to kind of talk about this particular operation, make sure we have this building appropriately sized. Because right now it's like this really long, narrow building, which makes it really kind of odd to fit on the site. I don't know if that's the right dimensions. So that's why the programming, I think, is necessary. So with that, I'll just tell you, like, we kind of laid this out. There's a bunch of different ideas, but ultimately this is going to be the tail that wags the dog, because we have to figure out how this building is situated. So all this is kind of just some ideas. We looked at trying to, move this building in closer to the entrance. This one's not really all that great of an idea, but it's nice because it has a single exit for the traffic flow through. This is one that's similar to one of the ones that we looked at before. It's a little bit more convoluted because there's more traffic movements, but a lot of this can be controlled through, I think, gating. For like, so these outside loops, where we don't want people, we just put up a simple gate, not like these gates. These could just be like the yellow swing arms, because they're going to be not normally closed, almost all the time. So all these we can kind of choke some of that stuff down. Again, almost all of these, I think we have the waste and recycling building to the right or to the east on the site. And then we just kind of keep flip-flopping where we're putting the metals location. And see this is the one kind of flops around, but I think the mulch wants to be to the west, closer to the pond. And this is the last one, which was, this one I think actually, if this is the geometry of the building, this one kind of makes, I think, gives us the most flexibility on the site. Again, we can just create gating if we're trying to limit certain accessibility to certain areas. So, So- no, I think we're right up, but you're right up on it. So, but this one pulled it away from the water main that runs down through here. So again, you know, does this work? Do we have to have access? I don't know. But we got to go through programming. We just got to. Al's sketch wasn't enough for us to really move with this. We had a good plan on this building because we just took the Victor building and just doubled it.
Right.
So I think that was, I'm good here. Anyway, so all these are here, I guess, you know, if we can try to set up a meeting with you guys, you know, in the next week or so, you think that'd be possible,
Yeah,
Jim?
maybe next week, later next week.
Late next week?
But that brush pile would be both brush pile and ground brush. mulch.
Yeah, that's why we gave it a massive infield area.
Yeah, if you look at what's out there, I mentioned it before, it's huge.
Yeah, you go out Wednesday, just take a look at Wednesday, right?
Greg, let me know when that meeting is. I'll try to participate also.
So basically, yeah, so until we get through that, I think that programming, I think at that point, we'll be able to update the site plan and then we can start, you know, taking some of the next steps. That makes sense, everybody? Yeah, okay,
I have questions.
go ahead.
I have about 150 of these left.
Oh, I don't have anything to do with those.
I know we've been telling residents that these will be good through this year.
Yep.
So we're gonna have to order new ones, or how? I mean, this isn't getting built this year, I mean, it
No.
probably won't be built next year.
No.
I know, I haven't been to these meetings, and I apologize if you guys have already talked about this.
Oh, yeah. I've been thinking about it. I think it's in
2021,
2021,
Yeah.
2023.
yeah,
Alright.
so some people have said they wish we went back to the stickers. They stick on their vehicle, and these, they know that people are giving them to other people to use the facility.
Had a conversation with Tom about that 2 weeks ago, and he said, come here, I want to show you something. And he said, we need to go back to the stickers because the tag hanging did not match the license plate on the vehicle.
Well, we can review stickers, we gotta have them someplace other than that's visible, we see. A lot of times at the top of windshield, it's tinted, so you don't see that there, they gotta put it down by the registration or something that where you can see.
People don't necessarily want stickers all over their
Correct.
cars. So,
Yep. Well,
And the ones on the back of the rear of the mirror, some of them, well, some of them that are super old fade,
they
but others, because of heat and that kind of stuff, fall
fall
off.
off. Yep.
So I don't know if putting them above the registration, if we got the stickers that did that. I think it might cost a little bit more, being a front face sticker versus a back sticker.
where do you just do this for another year or whatever until the new facilities built?
Gonna be built in a year.
Year and a
Yeah,
half.
sure.
Do these for 23 and 24 and make Greg promise it'll be up and operational by December of 24.
You're building this.
He's already putting dirt down there.
They'll say anything, as long as Jim's built it.
Exactly. You can get it ready down there for a week or two now.
But with the new facility, is that gonna change your sticker versus any kind of issue?
We discussed like
Scanning?
what do they call them, IRTs?
Yeah, the RF. yeah.
RF
Like
tags.
a car wash, where you have kind of a barcode
Right,
and it
right.
lets you in.
Mhm.
Those are a lot smaller too, that's what I was thinking about, stickers are usually just a little narrow rectangle.
You know, the Sonic,
Yeah,
Makes it look in the
yeah,
back
that's little.
window,
Yeah.
So,
then you gotta scan it, then you gotta.
you know, a machine over the top that would
Right.
scan it, so.
If you do order more of these, I would suggest just don't put a year on them,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
and then you're not tied into it.
Yeah.
Because
that-
whenever the transfer station is done, they're gonna become invalid.
How many do you give out a year? I mean, since we started, initially there were a lot, but
Like I said, I've got about 150 to 200.
but do many people come in, like this year, how many?
Oh, yeah, we've done quite a few.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So is that enough to last another year?
No.
No, probably not.
Mm-mm. Not especially with the development that's happening or potentially happening. The housing market has slowed a little bit, but still, people get new cars, they've lost them, they've had new license plates.
Neighbor didn't give it back.
Yeah, they're lost, yeah, so, but, yeah. I just need some, I mean, direction, or, I mean, it comes out of your budget, but, I mean, it's just, you need to get them ordered and figure out what you wanna do.
Is there a minimum quantity that has to be ordered?
I think the more you order, the less you are.
Yeah, I think it was
Oh, yeah.
cost, I think it changes the cost, because we did do a second order of a smaller piece for that CL
Yeah.
fund, and I think it was 500.
Seems like we're gonna have a year and a half, you're probably gonna need,
Through
probably more than that,
2024.
yeah.
We have to go through DEC for a new location, right?
That was a new, yeah, 360 application, yeah. Well, we should be 100% compliant.
Yeah, but since we building that, they're gonna wanna see what we're doing.
Right.
It's 400, 360 permit.
The 360 permit's good for 5 years, and I believe we renewed it in 2020.
So that's gonna burn up.
Yeah.
So pretty good timing, yeah, if we get it done by 2025, perfect.
We'll see. No
Okay,
pressure.
so
No pressure.
No,
what's the date of your September meeting? Is it the 2nd or is it the 9th? But then I'll come back and, I mean, we have another.
Right. Probably do the 9th, but probably do it, cause it's a Labor Day weekend.
Okay. 'cause-
I imagine people will be off.
So
like
probably what
Friday.
I will do is I'll send Rebecca over, because
Okay.
I'm off that day, if for some direction.
Okay.
On what you guys,
Yeah, I-
what you would like to do with these.
Okay.
I mean, unless you know today, but I don't want.
No,
Okay, I'll send Rebecca over on the 9th to get some direction.
I'll pull the info from our original order too, so we have, it in case we do the second or.
We should still have the design on file. We should be able to just edit or remove the year.
that Caitlin, see that? Get it out.
No, love it. Well, it was good to see everybody.
so what location has the better office?
What do you mean the better office?
Oh,
What, in
here.
terms of what?
Here or there?
Well, this is a brand new building where I picked out all the furniture and paint colors.
It sounds like this is the better location, alright.
Yeah,
She said that very well.
she is way back in the farthest part of the building. so-
Nobody can find us. There's like no sign.
Dude, these have.
That would be better.
Oh, yeah, I got a big window.
Okay, good.
Are you in 74? Like that?
No, I'm at the county complex.
Oh.
I'm in
Okay,
the,
okay.
up on the top floor, like way back by HR.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I didn't know where else. I'm walking around, like, poking my head in some doors, like, is this the right spot?
Sherman Manchester's office is like in the hallway outside ours. He's like always showing people like they're back there. When I showed up for my interview, I was like, oh, I'm here to see, Regina and Carla, and I popped into HR and I said, who?
Uh,
That doesn't
Yeah.
speak well for the,
There's lots of employees.
Yeah. So, well, let me know if I can be of any assistance with the transfer station planning. I don't know if you need help with the programming piece at all.
Yeah, I don't know if it's up to Jim, so,
let
we
me
can
know.
have Caitlin come in on that meeting as well.
Sure,
anytime.
yeah, well,
If it seems like it'll be helpful and to assist. Just
Sounds
keep me in the loop.
okay.
Take care,
Meeting,
everybody.
Caitlin.
Good to see you.
$10.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wait, might not take these with me.
No.
Take care.
She's
Have a
gonna
good
watch the whole
day.
thing just to make sure they're still up, you know that. I know Jean way too well.
Yeah.
She will double check.
Oh.
Okay. Let me go up to number 1 here. Discussion of ARPA funds, how much money do we have? Where, and, I don't know. You have to have this one on, and we talked about
I'm sorry, what was that?
the
Our funds, yeah.
sewer project, you know, the voting.
Right.
Yeah, about
Big chunk of
$1
that,
million,
but, seems like there's a little resistance perhaps.
I had a resident contact me yesterday that intends to come to the next town board meeting to speak against the ARPA funds being used for County Road 28 sewer. That listened to the last meeting. So, you know, Jared said during that County Road 28 thing that the town board would make the decision at the August town board meeting. So I don't know what to do for a resolution, because there hasn't been any discussion since that meeting, so I guess there's gonna be a resolution with blank lines.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we made the presentation using $1 million of the money is 1.15, I guess it is.
Correct.
But, you know, I would think that some of it should be devoted to that project, if it's going to go forward. But it would be helpful to have that number, so they can go back to people and say, well, here's the projected cost, so.
Yeah, you guys did pass a resolution saying that it was being used for infrastructure improvements.
Mhm.
So that's already exists. That's what I filed with the report, the ARPA money.
What would happen if you change your mind?
Well, in the little tiny fine print in like 6-point font, ultimately the elected body has the decision to do whatever they want.
Okay. All right, I didn't know what the rules were, that's why I asked, so.
If it was too bad, they couldn't ask you to, if they felt it was grossly not in keeping with the intent, they could ask for the money back.
So one person doesn't necessarily. Not everybody's going to agree upon it, it's up to the town board to.
Yeah, the town board just got to make a decision.
Well, what were there, about 10 or 11 people at the meeting? I wasn't there, I was by Zoom, but I couldn't really see the crowd.
I think I counted, I think there were almost 20 between Zoom and, yeah. I mean, it was still a small percentage of the number, right?
Yeah, 100 EDUs over there.
But just because I live out there, you know, people have spoken to me and they're in favor of the lower amount, obviously, than the 3,000. But overall, they're like, they didn't say no, they didn't say yes, I think we have to pretty much put it out there and see where it goes.
And the other thing is the comments that I keep hearing for not using the money, the ARPA money for County Road 28 sewer, relate back to using that money for the purchase of 3950 County Road 16, the direct connection. And so, let's face it, that gets less and less likely every day. Let's just be honest. If you're not going to spend the money here, what are we going to do with it? Or are we going to send it back?
Well, I'm sure that I talked to Jared the other day, he said Kevin O'Leary, is that what the company is doing the construction work at the VA and talking about what their plans are going forward from a sewer standpoint. And gave them the idea that, you know, running down East Street and down to Ontario Street to pick up sewer down there was something that they were considering that they'd like to do perhaps, so. But, you know, when and if that will happen. So Jared asked me to bring it up today, so I brought it up.
I talked to him briefly about that too. He said their goal is to have the design and a work for the contract by next summer.
The issue with them doing it that way is that Bushwood, those houses on Bushwood tie into that line that runs down the plant. So if they pick up the sewer that goes to the plant before it goes to the plant, at the intersection of Bushwood and 21, when they come down the road that way, that would be better than trying to come down East Street. Plus East Street has a crap ton of utilities and stuff around it, so,
But you have to pump,
yeah,
because it goes uphill.
yeah, you
So-
would still have, you would have to pump it, right?
Yeah, so instead of using these, where the RCBs are in that building, because that's where they're sending the fluid to be treated before it gets discharged.
Right, we always talked about trying to site a pump station someplace where we could get it low enough so we can pick up County Road 4 as well as chunks of 21, so you'd have to go back and look at that Grandview Park PER that we put together. They kind of out, not that that is probably, I'm not gonna say that's, what we'd have to do, but there's probably elements of that if the VA is gonna tie in that would be beneficial for the town. If we could just, steer a little bit of like where they're going versus, because otherwise, like I said, otherwise those people on Bushwood are screwed. Because they're all downhill.
So then does that become a county sewer?
Yeah, well, it would be a county sewer. I think the reason to do it on East Street is because you go right straight to the city and that's easy peasy, it takes the county out of the equation.
Okay,
And that might be why they're doing it, thinking,
Well, it's not clear to me whether that they are planning to do that. I mean,
Right.
it was-
it's all in the concept, spitballing ideas
Yeah,
stage.
we don't have a seat at the table in discussion.
Right.
I mean, other than that conversation we had, I don't know if we've heard any more, Doug, or.
But that whole sewer district on Grandview Park, that would fly if the county participated, or sorry, the VA was part of that project.
Yeah.
I mean, it absolutely would go.
Sounds like.
It wouldn't need extra funding.
We need to have some kind of contact with, if Jared approached the topic with him, I mean, he doesn't understand the systems and how,
Right.
what's best, from an infrastructure standpoint. It'd be good to meet with whoever it is, pulling the trigger, I think, over there to have a discussion. Of, here's what the town would like to see can just be accommodated. So,
Right.
So,
He
Or at
was
least-
meeting with the facilities director and their engineer, so I mean, that's the point of contact with, somebody's got
When is that meeting?
they had it.
Oh, they had it,
Yeah,
okay.
earlier on Tuesday.
Okay, I mean, if we get if we could get some type of follow-up meeting or something like that, it'd be great, because then we could sit down with that PER. And we could talk about, like I said, probably give some direction to some of these ideas so that it's beneficial to as many parties as possible to bring the VA into the city.
well, that person that we need to contact, I guess.
Yeah, the facilities director.
Yeah.
So Terry, is the Pine Public Works Committee making a recommendation for the use of the ARPA funds, or how are you gonna?
Yes, I am. See what the rest of the committee. Who else is on it? You are.
And then Chuck,
What do you think, Chuck?
I think it should be put toward the sewer based on what Doug was saying, that doesn't appear to be any other option in the works.
Well, it's, this. We had viewed Grandview Park as kind of a dead issue, right, until this conversation. So, but, I mean, if that gets resurrected somehow, maybe you don't need as much ARPA money if. A lot of the costs are gonna be borne by the
Yeah, the VA.
VA, so. But using the money for, as much of it as the rest of the board would allow to be used is what we should recommend, I think, so, yeah. Definitely, that's recommendation.
well, I think that all it should be used, but I can't see open it up, because we said you'll use it, I know the board can change it, but the intent was infrastructure.
Well, we, in this group, that talked about using all of it in Cheshire.
Right.
And then when Cheshire got shut down, we used all of it for County Road 28, so.
so does the resolution that I need to write say that the Public Works Committee is recommending use of all of the money? The ARPA money for the county,
Yes.
we'll put that in the resolution.
Because that's in concert with even with the sewer master plan, I mean, you guys have kind of set path, you know, and so let's just stay on the path. Otherwise, these things are just not.
Right.
No.
I agree.
What it should say.
If I could just real quick, 2 other sewer items while we're talking about sewer. Brickyard Road Sewer, I got a phone call from McFarland Johnson. They're moving forward with design that should be back very, very soon with a whole new pump station to serve the airport and to serve, that would be the east side of Brickyard Road, south side of Thomas Road, to pick that area up. So 1 pump station for both of those areas coming back down. They're moving forward with the plans for the terminal, at the airport. So that should be coming fairly soon. And then Sean is on, but we did get the plans have been submitted for the Edgemere development on Parkside Drive. There's a sewer issue there. I think I've made someone be aware of that. We started having some conversations with the county and some of the county officials also with that, trying to get that fixed. But, you know, we've generally said we're not tying into County Road 28, we're keeping those 2 separate.
Yeah.
Separate things.
Now, the one thing I will say is like, you know, from the county standpoint, I understand they have a flat section of sewer, but reviewing the plans, the minimum grade on the 8-inch is 0.4%. They have a segment that's 0.3%. But you're not like, you know, it's not like this thing was put in at like a 0.2 or a 0.1 or something, it's 0.3, so like, it's not as catastrophic as I think the county's making it seem, in my opinion.
Right, well, the other big thing that becomes a huge hurdle for the developer is Jack Braun told them that they had to wait and do a flow study in April. And then they miss the grant window, they miss this funding round, they miss everything if they have to do that, so that's why.
It's 48 families, so you're not talking about a tremendous amount of flow on an 8-inch line, so if there was a commitment just to relay that, you know, the section of pipes so we can get everything to at least minimum grade, then, you know, I would think that we should be able to move forward. Because it's only 48, I mean, it's 48 residents, I mean, that's
How long
just
is the pipe?
peanuts.
Where we looking?
It's down Parkside Drive, if you pull it up, you can show
How long
what
is it?
it's talking about.
It's not.
Oh, the second, it's just a run, but I think you're
Right.
gonna have to do 2 runs to get the slope. Cause like, you know, the run before it had a little bit more pitch and then I went to that 0.3 for that one, so you'd have to go, you know, basically 3 manholes, not 2 manholes to really grade.
But it's a most, you're talking about a couple thousand feet.
Yeah, most, yeah, it might only be like, you know, it might only be like 1,000 feet,
Right.
really.
Still want it up?
No, it's just that, you know, sewer pipe is like stupid expensive right now.
We're getting crazy prices, folks. Really.
Yeah, I
crazy.
heard the Layton County project was 100% above the budget.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's more nuances.
I know, but like I was.
But yeah.
speaking to a few people like, it went way.
Yeah, they doubled down on the collection system side.
What's the 28?
County Road 28 is just, it's an area that has a lot of existing residents, but has a lot of C and D soils. So almost everybody in that area is looking at a raised bed,
I
you know,
understand
to
that.
replace it,
I
so.
assume that, yeah.
So that's why we're just trying to, there isn't enough residents there to really make the district affordable on its own, so it needs a little outside help to basically close those gaps.
And the acquisition because of the cost for the hookup. Terry?
No.
I don't know, most of the people there, I seem like we're talking about a district that's probably 2,000 to 2,500. And most people there were like, okay, I mean, honestly, there was only a couple people that were like, I didn't really like it, but you know, the one guy's like, if it was, you know, 3,000 a year, he's like, I'm still in. It doesn't really matter. But they're just trying to avoid eating the cost of raised bed.
25,000 wall raised bed.
Yeah, that hurts. I mean,
Plus the
that's,
fact, Terry, for them, over the long haul, right? It's gonna be more beneficial for the sale of their home, right?
Right.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
One less headache for the homeowner.
Yeah, right.
absolutely.
Right.
They go for it out my way, I know that.
Yeah.
Never gonna happen out there.
Yeah, you're a little too booty.
Speaking of, we'll be using the outhouse forever, so.
Speaking of Brickyard Road, if you wanna see the highest pile of dirt in the town of Canandaigua.
Nice.
Where
What?
I actually took a picture of that.
It's got
earth mover.
40 feet in the air of this pile top. They just, it's like a conveyor cone. And it's right in the corner. I'm
It
like,
was earth mover.
That's-
I took a picture of it at the top.
well, I'm like, this is not a good location for it to pile topsoil.
Right on the corner.
I like
This is
it.
where the airport.
Yeah, right. next
Well,
to it.
no,
So
just
it's like
down-
right into Sucker Brook then, right?
No.
No,
Oh, it's on the other
north,
side?
but
Oh, okay.
if we get a rain event.
Actually, there's some storms today.
We'll see, but yeah, it's quite,
Yeah, it's up
it's
there.
quite the pile.
Well, leave it for the winter, you have a ski slope.
Oh, yeah.
Recreation
Absolutely.
activity.
Toboggan. Terry, we wanted to discuss real quick with the committee about the, if we're done with the subject.
Or we, I think we are.
Okay.
The County Road 28 shore was on here, but that really, until we make that decision on the ARPA money, I mean, it's not.
Yeah, and I owe you guys a proposal, so I've been, trying to get back into it. I was for it for a little while, so I'm trying to get back to it. But listen, it was fun, but I just do not go to Florida in July. I'm like, it is just the worst place to be. So it was just so hot.
Our grandkids, we went to Disney World in early August, about 8 years ago.
Oh,
Got in the pool to cool off, hotter in the pool than it was in here.
oh, my goodness.
Get back inside, crank the AC and
Yeah.
stay
Yeah,
there.
the pools, they were like the pool water was like 95
Oh, yeah,
degrees.
that's-
I mean, it's just like you can't.
There's no relief. There's no,
And then the sun is just
in the
It's
water, it's 100% humidity, and outside it's 100% humidity.
Yeah, exactly. It was cool. They had a saltwater pool. That was kind of neat.
Okay, yeah, we're done.
Sorry.
Uh,
It was on the agenda, but we wanted to talk about the vehicle inspections
Oh, yeah.
that have been, we want to put in the budget for this year. And Kate had some questions, and the questions were emissions, and we can, as a fleet, not a public service, we can test all our vehicles by plugging it in to make sure the emissions are correct. And the heavy equipment, we do not test for spot, but when we plug it in to test, make sure those emissions work, that's when we'll know if it is in compliance or not. So, and I believe we have that ready someplace for the fleet, correct? So.
Yeah, so the idea would be, we would be a fleet inspection station, not a public inspection station, which does allow us to forego some equipment that might be required in a public station. As a municipality and not being in New York City, we're not required to do the smoke emissions, which is like for the diesel equipment. And then the equipment that we've priced out through the DMV is $2,500. It's a computer with a plug-in, and we did confirm, right, that with Burke, that includes the emissions needed for the light duty vehicles.
Correct.
So there would be no requirement for heavy duty, they would have what we need for light duty. The only cost to us would be the $2,500, that would be the equipment to run the process of doing the inspection, the stickers, the signage. That would all be at no cost because we're a government agency, so we would not have to pay for that. I did speak to the city of Canandaigua, they performed their own inspections. There is a small fee for each test that you run on the equipment. He said if we spend $50 a year, that's the maximum on those tests. They're very, very low cost. To do that, when we talked to Jim Burke, our mechanic, about it, what he's doing right now is driving a vehicle with a pickup truck behind it to the station to get inspected, leaving it there, driving back. Then those two people are driving the pickup truck back to pick it up maybe the next day. The cost of that transportation, getting the trucks there and getting them inspected, plus the time, is, we feel, very much outweighs, $2,500 in equipment and $50 or so a year in testing. So we've talked about it a lot, there've been some questions, we just wanted to bring it to the committee to see if you had any other questions, any concerns, or if perhaps you're in support and would like to see this move forward. I would like to see a resolution go to the board to authorize Jim to submit the application, and facilitate getting that registration and inspection station
That's
up
a
and
great,
running.
that's a great find.
The city and the county both perform inspections in-house. They're both fleet stations. The county person was on vacation this week, so I didn't get too much info from them. But the city was very helpful, and I left a message for the county in case there are any other questions.
Those would be everything that we. Oh, every vehicle.
Every vehicle,
Everything. How many total used cars and? He has the time to do everything, or is he?
Well, we can, like in the winter time, bring one or two in and do it. We tend to use the big trucks in the spring after the plow season on purpose, because we don't want to pull them out of service. We will get inspected, so we'd have to start maybe breaking up the fleet a little bit, so we do it all at the same time. You know what I'm saying, like maybe every quarter or something that's done, so it isn't always on top of each other.
What's the price per vehicle to have it inspected at the third?
There's no fee, Chuck.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm municipal.
The current fee is, would you pay currently? to
Oh,
have it
yeah,
inspected?
I'm sorry. I thought you
What are we
meant-
paying now?
We pay between $21 and $50 depending on the type of vehicle. And trailers are 10, so trailers are $10, light duty is 21, and then the larger trucks can get a little more expensive.
That was $50, 50 vehicles at 2,500 right there, so.
Yep.
That's a
First year.
one-time for the equipment, yeah.
That's my point. You save the money in the cost.
That's no,
Yeah. Well, so we could vote on what we should do.
I'm for it.
Great, thank you so much. I know Judge Burke will be very happy to hear that.
Oh, we got the only item left is
the
the
gateway.
gateway sign.
Signage.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Been
Sarah.
waiting with bated breath.
I know, I felt like we kicked this one to the end. I'm sorry, Sarah. I apologize. All right, so I brought Ed with me. So Ed's gonna kind of spearhead this effort for us. Ed's got a lot of experience doing this. Obviously, everyone knows Ed, right? Ed Perone from Perone Engineering. He's now with MRB. And the way we looked at this is, we kind of triaged the 5 different sites that we kind of looked at. I think one of the first steps we're going to probably do is start to reach out to the state, try to set something up with Greg Trost, and possibly visit each site and see if we can come up with a general idea, and then we have the ability to go ahead and check for site distances and all that good stuff, so we can kind of build the site plans. So I don't know, Sarah, I'm assuming are you gonna be the point person then for the town
Yeah,
on this? Okay.
except for there's 2 projects, Shauna's here, I know I see she's on the phone right now, but there's 2 of those. The one,
364.
364 coming out of Gorham is gonna probably end up on the property where the new neighborhood's going in, Sunset Ridge or whatever it's
Oh,
called.
okay, yep.
And it's possible that depending on the location, they can engineer it right into their plans.
Mhm.
So, we'll keep Sean in the loop and she'll keep us in the loop about how that's going, because that might save you guys some time. Similarly, with the one further up, just before Lakeshore, the one that's, where the property that has the Finger Lakes Public House, right, if you're going north, it's right after the, manufactured home neighborhood on the
Mhm.
left. And there's, that's probably where that one would go, like, it would be on the,
Southbound.
southbound side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a spot there. Again, that's probably gonna end up being on the private property there.
Okay.
But Sean is working with developers and landowners for both of those, so we'll just need to keep them in the loop.
Okay.
Those are the only 2 where we have potential that they can do some of the work too.
Okay, that's fine. So we can focus on the other 3 for sure.
With that being said, we should find out if we want the developers to actually, their attorneys to provide us the easements. If Shauna can have them do that, that would be very helpful.
To provide, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part. Provide us with what?
the easements, Shauna, if the developer could provide, their attorney provide the easement. Okay,
For those two sign locations.
those
on
two sign
364.
locations.
The one
Well,
with,
I'm not sure that Finger Lakes Public House is on board, so we're gonna have to work with them.
Okay,
Sunset Ridge absolutely is. And they just want to know our preference, if we want the northern property line or the southern property line. So before their curb cut or after.
I guess we'd have to go out and look.
Yeah, that's private bus.
so we're gonna have to go look at that one. What's that one, Sunset?
Sunset.
Shauna, have you been out there? Do you have any idea?
That
which
was,
one would be
it used to
better?
be the Canandaigua Shores, right? Yeah.
I think it should go on the southern property line line. I just think it makes more sense. And I mean, they want our input, but from talking to the Lee Trodellos, I think that's their preference. Their preference is a southern property line, but you know, I think they would do either way. And there is already an easement on there for us to put that on the plan.
So it really comes
Do we
down.
have any contacts for the piece on the corner of Lake Shore? The owner, I don't know who, I mean, it's like a.
Oh, yeah.
No, the one that has like part of the gas station in it, and then the old Dobbers, which is now Finger Lakes Public House.
Yeah, isn't that Affordable Great Locations?
I thought, is
What'd
that
you
the
say?
one where the ownership recently changed, Shauna?
It did. Yep.
Did Cook's property buy that? You know, the.
What's it called? It's like ARM.
It's
Arms Property LLC or something like that. I mean, I will find, I've tried to reach them through Brennan Marks and I'm not having good luck. I'll keep working on it.
It's, you're right, it's Arms Properties LLC.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the one near Lake Shore. Okay,
Yeah, with the gas station.
okay.
How wide is the state highway there? Oh, pretty thin.
Oh, yes, because it flares out just a second.
Usually 50 feet, but
Near the intersection, yeah, it's starting near the intersection.
on the center of the road, but they may have taken a big swap
80, yeah, we do, 91 feet. It's pretty,
from the center of the road, you think?
oh no, the
I
total
did
width,
it
Total width is 90,
between-
yeah,
I did it across. the
yeah,
road.
45, 50, yeah.
yeah. Well, there's 4 lanes there,
Mhm.
Jim.
So
So
for that one, it's maybe good to talk to the state.
I'm sure we will.
Need to.
The only thing I gotta
Yeah,
get confirmed.
Well,
with
exactly. I think that the best thing is to walk through the state for each of these, just to kind of, make sure we understand. And for our intent is to go with Greg Trost, to see if Greg Trost can deal with everything locally.
We wanna use Greg.
I know.
I don't wanna, we go to Jefferson Road, we're gonna do all kinds of plans. And I think, I could be wrong, but generally, when you're in the right of way, it'll be a revocable permit.
Yep.
And hopefully they won't charge us.
Who knows? We'll see.
If you did that, I watch.
He owes me something.
All right, okay.
In Farmington, he owes me something, in
All right.
Farmington.
So what are our next steps? Site visits and meeting with the
Yeah,
state?
I think the next steps, I believe, are probably the gross topic with the state and then try to get us some site visits together.
You're right, I agree with that, Sarah. I'll contact Greg Trost. Say we wanna meet. We got 5 locations, I can send him copies of this and say, Greg, we're looking at gateway sites, 5 of them. Wow,
He knows, he's come to our meetings when we were first talking about these, but, yeah, I don't know, like his answer the first time, so. He was nice.
Yes,
Right.
Greg's always professional, but
always.
They always try to push these things out of the state right away as much. I mean, that's their preference, because they just don't want another piece
But
of
just say-
liability. But if we could put it in a spot where it's has a very limited exposure risk, then, maybe we can sway his, his opinion.
Because generally we want to be as close to the common lot, town lines as we can get.
Right.
That would be the goal and the objective here. Why would I want to put it, like the one on 332, it's really not at the town line. Because we got a big swamp there, right? It is what it is, I get it. It's just that the other ones, you don't want to be 1,000 feet away. Because, and he'll say, well, haven't you taught that to the people on the property owners if they give you an easement as? Well, if it's set back too far, people are never gonna, you just aren't gonna see it.
Right.
Now, they're, Jim, as well as I do, there's what they call the safety zone, right? So he's gonna say, well, the clear zone, we gotta have clear zone here. I understand that, okay? So, and they look at things like speed, right? They look at, okay, where it's positioned, that's gonna deal with the plows. Sometimes they've asked us, are these breakaway signs? That's more money.
Right.
The wooden post should suffice.
Suffice as a, that's what we're looking at.
Right.
And I'm looking at the contractor, aren't I? Okay,
Very much.
Wait, they're installing these, right?
Or are they?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
that's part
Oh,
of
that's
it.
even better.
Who's installing?
This company, these signs have already,
They already
they're
exist,
already
they're
made.
built.
Oh, they're installing?
Yes.
Yes.
That might make it actually a little bit more complicated to have. it
Yes.
installed.
Well, I
Because
mean,
I
I
know
suppose
just-
that can be changed.
Well, again, it's like
That was
they're
the
gonna want
original plan.
their insurance, their filter permit.
Right, exactly, that's all.
You know, I
I'm
might make things,
Yeah, that's what's, this is good, perm 33, perm 34, okay.
saying. Two.
32 or
Because that has-
32.
and you might have to go sign off, it might have to go up to Henrietta.
It will.
So
Okay, so do we not want the sign company to install them if they don't?
they might,
do?
Well, it
we might have their assistant.
So if it's
Okay.
if it's out of the right of way, then yeah, let them install it, but if it's in the right of way, we
Same
might have to
thing,
have the
we
town do it.
Right, we might dig,
Just
do stuff,
stand
we
there
might
and
come,
watch.
and,
I mean,
put some bolts together, and so it goes together correctly. So,
have your truck out
Right.
there,
right,
so the
I
town
don't
can
think
dig on the
they'll
side.
care either way, it'll save us some money if they don't install it.
so.
We would
Are we
rather
expecting
be,
a camper?
No, I just saw it like,
I would like to, we should be the contractor.
oh, I would, yeah.
Oh, man, I don't want, because I know Greg, well, we gotta go, and we gotta,
Maybe they're turning around, but,
their turnaround is 12 weeks.
Yeah.
You know that, I mean,
I
sure, it's 12 weeks.
I'm not pushing it, I'm just telling you.
It was part of the quote, but if it's flexible, it's.
So they were gonna do the installation. Well, I know we're gonna have to show a foundation plan, because they always ask for that. And Greg is right, we're gonna have to demonstrate to them that there's proper site distance and all that.
I've yet to not be charged that permit fee. Because that's something we always run against. Maybe somebody above Greg can waive it.
Well,
We have money for installation.
Let's
I
get with
know.
Greg first, then we'll figure, then we'll see where we're gonna go. But I think that's the most immediate thing is to get this meeting with Greg and let's go to the sites.
Okay.
So, and I think that's something we should be able to get done at probably the next week or two.
yeah, depending on his schedule, obviously.
Right.
If
Obviously,
you do it next week, I can come, if you do it the week after, you guys want to do it.
okay, so maybe we shoot for next week, Ed, if
Yeah.
so we can get Sarah.
And Shauna, if you want to be there for those two, when we go look, since you've been involved.
Yep, absolutely.
And then there's one or two of them on a county road that changes the conversation.
The
Yeah.
32,
Is that the only one?
Yeah.
I think it is. 32 is the only county. Mr. Wright?
Yeah, I'll probably talk with Tim first, then we'll Bill.
Yeah, we'll start with.
So we'll start with Tim.
Well,
We'll get for-
no, Bill would like to just bust my chops.
I'm sure
That's
he would.
okay. Oh, yeah. We go back 4,000 years, but that's okay.
Yeah.
we get these site meetings together, we can get a little bit better direction, then we can really hone in on like how quickly we can have a deliverable to you. Because we'll have a better idea of that's exactly what we need to do.
So I'd like to, I would hope. What would really be nice is if we could do it all in one permit,
Right.
Right.
if he would allow that. I'm not sure he would, but it makes.
It makes
What do you
sense,
think, Jim?
yeah.
He will, he might do one permit.
It's all the same action,
So,
so.
yeah,
It is.
just all I do is show us a different location for each one.
Right.
So,
We might have to show a detail, which is fine, I don't care. And, he might want some sort of written report of where the site distances are, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of this.
Are these signs gonna be lit in any way, shape or form?
No.
They're just
They're
static,
one-sided, they're just there.
okay.
He wouldn't allow that. I can tell you that right
No, I know, I just
now. He
wanted,
would not allow that.
wanted to know the variables before we
And then
had
we
the
talked-
Most of the other
conversation.
towns, they don't light them,
Yeah.
they're just there to.
We talked, Greg and I talked early on about planters. You guys, some communities do that.
They usually like to.
but
put-
again, we're
they-
talking about crash worthiness, is you
Yeah.
allow some sort of
I understand.
masonry.
Well, they usually like they like us to like kind of wrap it with like, you know, a mulch and flower bed, just because it's a matter of maintenance, right? It's easier to kind of mow around versus trying to get under the sides and weed whack around everything.
Yeah, especially
So-
in their right away, they're probably
Right.
gonna want minimal. Just this. As far as heights are concerned, we'll talk to Greg about, I'm sure he might have some specifics what he would like to see for heights.
Well, how about we start with what it already is?
Since the signs are already built.
Right.
Things
Well, but
that
it would,
maybe
we could change the post, I'm assuming, right? The length of the post, I'm assuming, right? Or something, right?
Point,
He doesn't really
but you
give you
don't
a
want
height,
it this
at
far
least I don't see
around,
it.
you know?
Well, I know, but some of the locations, like one of the locations on 332 had a lot of side slope, so like, you
Would
know,
you
you
do
can't
that?
just use a standard
Please.
6-foot post. You know, one's gonna have to be like a.
You know what would be helpful?
To catch up, yeah.
He's gonna have, he probably has a detailed sign. An actual design drawing.
Who?
The
The
sign
biggest sign
guys.
guy, yeah, they should be able to send us that
We,
information.
we need to have that because I know Greg is gonna require that. We're also gonna have to provide a foundation, I know that too.
Mhm.
He's just gonna require. it. So, and he'll say, I hope he doesn't. Well, you know, maybe we need to do some topography, a little grading, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Greg, sure.
Terry, there's one more thing we need to just touch on briefly, Kelly and Farmington Water.
Okay.
So you and I had a conversation, or you and I had a couple conversations, right? So Jared asked me to help him crafting a letter of intent to Peter moving forward. I know Peter asked you
I got
about
it somewhere.
the software, and
Yeah.
then we need to have a conversation as to who's gonna administer this thing. So I know we're not gonna decide that today, but we gotta start,
Have a conversation.
because it comes, it came up there in our budget. I appreciate talking about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a,
That's a phase, right? But we gotta at least start something.
oh, yeah.
And I think the agreement expires at
does
the
it
end of this
entail,
year,
really? I mean-
kind of, sort of, so.
Yeah,
We have to have a new agreement before we do the tank, right? So
Mhm.
that's gotta be.
New
factored
agreement
into
for
the-
what?
We do the tank for the debt.
Oh,
yeah, that.
well, yeah,
The debt's a ways off yet, so you still got a little bit of time, but
Right.
not a tremendous amount of
We
time.
gotta start working on it. And then your revised plans, right, include the roadway and the
Yeah, they-
trail, right?
right, well, okay, so we haven't done anything because we have not been told
oh,
to
you're
go.
waiting for.
We're waiting, but yes, as soon as we open that up,
Mhm.
we can have a meeting, either a joint meeting with, you know, you guys and Farmington or whatever, to talk about things that were gonna be in the design. Or we just have a couple different and then just share the information between you, however we wanna do that, but I wanna make sure that we're covering everything that you guys need to have, because I know we have to talk with Genenco to get us moving forward. And then I wanna make sure Farmington's on board with whatever the modifications are, but yeah, we have to jump into that relatively soon. That's not gonna be you know, the changes that we're asking, they're not significant, but there's some doing to make that work. get it all together, to get it out to bid. So. Yeah, whenever we can, sooner the sooner better, honestly, if we could bid this project out, you know, honestly, before the end of the year, that'd be great.
We should be able to resolve that maintenance type, you know, and how much. What areas are we each gonna be responsible for? I mean, is town line road gonna be the dividing line, or is it?
Well, that's been the discussion, like the
Yeah.
town of Canandaigua takes care of the town of Canandaigua, one farm takes care of farmers.
Yeah.
But we both have to share the debt, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
But we need to have those conversations with Farmington, because that may impact the workload and the need for their water department, right?
Right,
So,
There's that, and then.
Well, it could impact ours too.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
then,
without a doubt,
I'm sure
absolutely.
there's some sort of financial discussion between the two towns of what they were receiving, not receiving out. So, and I don't, put some numbers here and see what that impact is. I'm sure that probably will go rough for a while. Be polite.
Oh, Pete's a pretty reasonable guy.
Yeah, but we should still have any meeting here, because walking in there, you don't know what we might be walking into.
Right.
He was a little upset
Oh, he
when the
was,
signal go forward last.
oh, he was, wow.
Yeah.
That,
A
wow.
little.
Well, that's an
I was like, is this like understatement Friday or what? Okay. No worries.
We're just not trying to,
Well, I know.
politely say it.
Well, I mean, we kind of have to nudge them and get them kind of moving along. So like, you know, I think it'll happen. You know, there's probably gonna be some sourpuss faces, but you know, I think they eventually
Project's
just
gotta
gotta.
be done.
Right. And I think
I mean,
both
that's the
sides
bottom
know.
line.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that's, you know, very edge, but not too deep. you know?
Right.
But the only other thing, speaking of water, and I don't know if it impacts us or not, John Goodwin mentioned, I think you were by Zoom, right, at the beginning of the last LEC meeting, that they are looking at a $13 million upgrade to the water facility.
After you mentioned that, I didn't read, I'm gonna be Jim Sprague next week, just to kind of, yeah, just get a feel what's,
So,
what he's thinking, okay?
Some of that is a little bit of like, we've been having conversation with Pete, because Pete was trying to do like little capital improvements at the facility, all in a budget, like in one budget year. And he's like, you know, this is a little too much, I can't do this, so I'm like, we'll keep telling people, like, it's not gonna be cheaper next year. Like, and you think you're gonna be able to budget that much more money in the following year, so I'm like, why don't you just wrap it all together, do an IMG or a WIA grant, and get a big chunk of it paid for with grant dollars. And then, you know, set yourself up going forward. So that might be part of the reason why they're looking to try to, you know, wrap it into a bigger project.
No, so the town board, while everybody buys water from the city, doesn't the agreement,
Yeah, the agreement expires at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to
so that's something else that has to be.
yeah, that's the other study that they're doing right now, the other consultant they have. That's gonna take place, but we are running into issues. I had a call from GRE on Monday this week. There's a CEO of a large company who's actually staying at the lake house this weekend, was interested in locating in the town of Canandaigua, their facility. I can't provide them the 1.2 million gallons of water a day that they need.
Well, no, I mean, that,
Really?
you estimated $1 million, $1.5 million for Uptown, when it's fully filled out.
Yeah.
That would put the city at the
Right.
daily average, but
Yeah,
that 13 million he was talking about wasn't. I was a little fuzzy that day, you know, but, was.
He made it sound like just to keep up with the current demand.
Yeah,
That doesn't
well, that's my
include-
question.
Right,
That
not
wasn't
expansion.
going to DEC or anybody asking for a
correct.
boost in the.
Correct.
withdrawal rate, so.
Yeah, so in order for the city to increase their taking from Canandaigua Lake, they would have to revise their water supply permit, which will then kick you into another study of Canandaigua Lake to figure out what the safe yield is. And that process is probably roughly a 5-year process. I'm not, you know, that's how long it took last time between, you know, you had Tony Malone, Peter Lent and Lou Lloyd working together to come up with it. The last time, it was a 5-year process, so.
Well, that's I don't know if John understands that. At all, and the 13 million is really just upgrading facilities they have, so it's not any cost that might be above that to increase provided, that's not in that at all, so.
You know, we, first time ever with this drought in 13 years, you know, we did just shy of 2 million last week. That's 1 meter that we took from them. We have several master meters that we take from them. So that's a third of their daily allowance
Right.
of 6 million.
This is the third company, 3 separate projects. It's looked it up down, looking for 1 million gallons of water a day or more. Just
You guys
turn
don't
it
know,
down.
can't do it.
Right, just make
It's
sure.
just not possible.
You're right. We can't, the 16-inch water main that runs behind town walls down in this road to feed Manchester. Is that strictly for inside the town?
Yeah, I think that it's just primarily just to feed Manchester, so.
But I wonder, I'm like, I get what Doug's saying, I'm just curious. Is anyone looked at that 16-inch to provide that water? Or maybe you can't get from the tanks through the city
Right.
to the north end of town.
I think, I mean, if it was just a matter of conveyance, I feel like we could solve that problem if it was just conveyance, but the problem's really on the production side,
Yeah.
so. That plant can flux 9 MGD, and they're approved for up to 9 MGD on a single day. So. It's all gonna come down to that safe field analysis, unfortunately, so like the DEC set it at 6. Maybe we can get them to bump it to 7, you know. The other things to look at is like, is there ways for, and this is why I've talked about this allocation study at some point in time, so is there a way to offload segments that are pulling from Canandaigua Lake to, say, Monroe County Water or Seneca
That's right.
County or Wayne County, whatever,
Just go to Victor.
just to go ahead and, redirect the allocations from the city in the Canandaigua Lake to other areas.
No,
So-
that's probably the shorter duration of time to have those discussions, less than 5 years, I would think.
Right.
Certainly, you know, so that may be something that we should be doing now.
Are we connected to Victor?
No, Victor is Monroe County Water.
No, I know that.
Yeah,
Is it gradient? It's about as far as we can gravity.
Yeah,
as
it's
town
gonna
level.
be
Without pumping.
yeah,
Okay.
So,
But the county, we've had this conversation bringing this exactly up there with the county, and because the county has an interest in really starting to push economic development towards Manchester and Phelps, going across 96 and taking advantage of the throughway exits, but everybody's gonna have the same exact problem.
Right.
Because we're all pulled from the same place.
Right.
So the county's gotta be involved in this conversation and helping drive, okay, what does this look like to feed, especially Victor Farms.
I
right.
have no question. I agree.
Yeah, we've done studies like this that were not they weren't necessarily county driven studies, like when we did the 4 Bay study. That was basically, looking at the municipalities together, and they basically hired us to look at all of those communities' needs. So I mean, they could be done very similar, as long as you can get all the municipalities to, buy in and participate, you could do that study. It wouldn't necessarily need the county.
But I'm looking at
Per se.
economic development, and
Right,
have the county IDA, county economic,
right.
county pay for, and get it done. Because there's plenty of money out there for, on that side of the house to get it done.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of big decisions to come up.
Oh, for sure.
Major impacts.
Speaking for me, I have to get out of here right now.
Okay.
so.
Okay.
And the unofficial meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never ended your official meeting.
Officially. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Don't forget to serve for there.
Have fun at the beach, Chuck.
Just grab some.